Mirror, mirror on the wall, reflection as my canvas. When I look into myself, I see I gotta raise my standards. What you cooking in the pot? A little self-love. What you cooking in the pot? Don't need no help, love.
Hey guys, so this is the very first episode of Pretty Inside Out, and I am your show host, Courtney Nicole, and I'm so excited to be launching both of my brands, Pretty Inside Out and the Bible Breakdown, at the same time. God gave it to me so weird, so different, so unique, and so I thank him for that. And I just thank you all for tuning in. I thank you all for listening and paying attention to the content that I'm going to be showing currently and the content that I have in the future. I'm excited to see what God has in store for us. But for the Pretty community, I just want to thank everyone who's been supporting me, everyone who's been helping me on my journey, everyone who's been pushing me, everyone who's been inspiring me, and most of all of those who are going to be tuning in and becoming a part of the community. I'm so excited to welcome you all. I am show host Courtney Nicole, and if you didn't know, that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. No, I'm just kidding. But that is something I'm so passionate about, is show hosting. And I started this podcast because I really want to inspire women. I really want to inspire them to be authentically and genuinely themselves, not feeling like they have to be like anybody else, not feeling like they have to, put on a show for anybody, but really just be who they are. So let's get into some things. So for the title of this first episode of Pretty Inside Out, God gave it to me so simple. This series is called The Ugly Truths. So we're going to get a little bit into the ugly truths about ourselves, about other people, about our lives, all of that. But this series is The Ugly Truths, and the first episode is called Stuck on Potential. Now, this episode is called Stuck on Potential because it's a reflection of what I see in myself, what I see in other women, and what I see in other people in general, men as well. Before we can get into Stuck on Potential, you have to understand levels of standards. This is what I want people to understand. Whenever you have a standard that is of a high value, of a capacity that everyone can't reach, it's okay that everyone can't reach it. Whenever you have a standard of great value, not everybody's going to be able to meet it. That is why it's called a standard. If it was mediocre, if it was average, many people will be able to meet your standard. So you're trying to talk to a guy, you're trying to talk to a girl, and you're having a very hard time and you feel like you need to lower your standards. I'm here to tell you don't. Y'all know it's funny. One of my friends, we was having this conversation, but we won't have it like this. But we was having this conversation. He told me he a bougie man. And I said, ooh, you a bougie man? He said, yeah, like everybody can't talk to him. I said, that's what's up, because everybody can't talk to me either. See, when you know your standards and you know your value, you can be a bougie man. You could be a bougie woman. You feel me? A lot of the times we all have standards for our friendships and our relationships and different things of that sort. But whenever you have a standard and someone makes you feel as though your standard is of high value, some people lower their standards. Some people keep their standards and keep it pushing. But what I want us to understand is that if you have a standard that is of high value, if you have a standard that you desire for a relationship, a standard that you desire for a friendship, and somebody doesn't abide by it, or you finding that you're having a hard time building relationships and friendships, don't feel as though you have to lower your standards. If you're, let me say this, if you're having a hard time with male companionship because your standards are very materialistic, that's a different story. If your standards are very emotional, that's a different story. If your standards are spiritual, that's a different story. They all have different aspects that you have to look at. But for me, I'm going to focus on the more emotional and spiritual aspect, not in the materialistic concept. So whenever you have a standard that you want someone to abide by, or not even abide by, but a standard that you just require for yourself, excuse me, let me clear my throat. No, but a standard that you have, that you require for a matter of respect, don't feel like that you have to lower your standard if people aren't meeting it. What I need people to understand is that if nobody's meeting your standard, or if people are having a hard time meeting your standard, understand that if anything that has great value, everyone's not going to be able to meet it. Understand that whatever God is appointing you is going to be for you, and lowering your standards is not something that is a requirement. Love yourself enough to say, hey, if this person isn't meeting those requirements, maybe they're not for me. Friendship or relationship, male or female, understand that. And another thing is, a lot of the times when you do lower your standards, that's when we get in this position where we're stuck on potential, which let me get into this because this is my favorite part, but it's when we get stuck on potential. Now, let me give you my little breakdown. You know how we were in school, let me say it correctly. You know how we were in school and they taught us about, kinetic and potential energy. But potential energy is energy that is stored up, but it's not moving. It's there, but it's not moving. And the kinetic energy is that energy that is in motion, that energy that is there and it's in motion and it is functioning well, right? So when you get stuck on potential energy that it is there, but it's not producing, that's where you have an issue, because you're stuck on potential. You're stuck on the idea of something. You're stuck on the concept of something that's not actually functioning. He looks like he would be a good husband. She looks like she would be a good wife. She looks like she would have a fun time as a friend, but they actually don't. They're actually not the people that you painted them out to be. And you get stuck on potential because you say what they could have been or what they should have been or what you thought they would be or what they may be in the future, but they're not actually that. Allow people to be who they are. Respect people for who they are and understand people for who they are. Don't try to paint a picture of somebody the way that they're not, because that's when you get stuck on potential and you have all these desires and all these hopes and these misleading concepts that you painted a picture of somebody else in your head, and that's not who they are as a person. Respect people as who they are. If somebody doesn't fit your standards, if somebody doesn't fit your needs, your desires, that's okay. They don't have to. Allow them respectfully not to do that, but know yourself and love yourself enough to say, hey, that friendship isn't for me. That relationship isn't for me. Whatever it is, isn't for me. But understand that when you do have high standards and that when you do get not stuck on potential, so wait, let me say it correctly. When you do have high standards and when you're not stuck on potential, you can very well find beautiful friendships, beautiful relationships. You may not have 10 friends. You may not have, it may take a long time to find a boyfriend. It may take a year or two. It may take 10 years to find a boyfriend or a husband or whatever it is that you're desiring, or a wife. But with that being said, you want that person that God has appointed you. Whoever God has appointed you is the person for you, or whoever is that person in your relationship or that person in your friendship is supposed to be in your life in some way or some capacity. So don't expect it to just be something that's just going to be thrown to you. Sometimes it is going to just be thrown to you. But if it's not just thrown to you, be okay with the wait, because you don't want to get stuck on potential or stuck on a concept or an idea of a person that doesn't exist because you created it in your mind. All right, so we got standards, we got potential energy and kinetic energy, understanding the difference between both because we don't want to get stuck on potential. But we also got to pay attention to the fact that sometimes we don't believe God for the unfathomable, and that's why we get stuck on potential. Because the things that we desire in relationships, or the things that we desire in friendships, the things that we desire in general, we don't trust God to give them to us. And we don't trust him because we haven't seen him do it. We don't trust him because our other relationships that we have had don't reflect those things that we desire. So we're like, yeah, it's just not possible. Okay? I mean, I trust you, God, to do anything above and beyond, abundantly above all that I can ask or think. But this one thing, I'm not going to submit it to you. Well, if I really be transparent, it's one of those things that you have to release to God. Whenever you have a standard, whenever you have a value, whenever you have a purpose greater than yourself, God is going to require you to have people with standards and values that are greater than, most or other people's expectations. Everybody has different desires. Everybody has different goals. Everybody has different visions. So know yours. But with that being said, you have to trust God for the unfathomable. If you want to wait till you're married to have sex, trust God that he will give you a relationship and a man that will wait. And if the men that keep coming aren't waiting, then they're not the man for you. Understand that. The man that God sends for you will wait. If you want to build a relationship on the premise of God, and the person that God is sending you don't know God or doesn't talk about God or isn't in the church, doesn't mean that they aren't the person for you, because you can very well guide somebody. You can very well teach somebody, but that's not your responsibility. So if you want a man of God, then seek a man of God. You don't have to submit. You don't have to subject yourself to a man or a woman that's not of God in order to submit your standards, because you don't trust that you're going to find that. If you want a man that goes to church, if you want a woman that goes to church, if you want a woman that does whatever you like, if you want a man that does whatever you like, you're able to have that. believe that God will do that for you. Trust him for the unfathomable. If you haven't seen it for anybody else, know that it's going to happen for you. Know that in your mind. You have to have that type of faith. But trust him in your standards. Trust him and don't get stuck on potential. Don't get stuck on that potential, y'all. I'm telling y'all, come on, be honest. How many of us get stuck on potential? Because I did it. Been there, done that. Been there, done that. I've been there. I've done that. Being stuck on potential is not where we at with it. What we gonna do? We only going after kinetic energy. If it ain't kinetic, we don't want it. And say it. I cracked myself up. No, seriously though, we only want kinetic energy. We don't want no potential. You know, we don't want to get stuck on potential. We're like, ooh, what he could have been. Ooh, what she should have been. Ooh, what it could have been like. What it could have been like for our friendship, for our relationship. No, pretty ladies and gentlemen. I ain't mean to do y'all like that, but I had to just give y'all a little breakdown. I hope y'all took heed of what I said, and I hope you all tune into the very next episode where we get into the next topic. I ain't gonna say what it is. You gotta tune in so you can know what it is. But I thank you guys for tuning into the very first episode. I am your host, Courtney Nicole, and I thank you all for tuning in. There's gonna be a lot coming for the brand, a lot coming on the website. So just check out the website, check out this podcast, check out my other podcast, The Bible Breakdown, and just pay attention to a lot of the different content that I'm gonna be sharing with you all because it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be great. I thank you for the pretty community and the handsome gentlemen that are going to be a part of my Pretty Inside and Out community. I thank you all for joining. I thank you all for supporting me. Check out the website, learn a little bit more about me, look at the content that I have, and if you have any questions, ask me, and if you want to share any ideas, any concepts, throw them my way, and I'm willing to post them on my podcast. I'm excited about doing this journey. We're going to get into a lot of things, like from interviews to different subjects that I'm going to cover, to different giveaways and things like that, so just stay tuned for all that we have, and just hop on board, okay.